Hey team, sorry about that. If you could just let us know in the comments if we have fixed all of our technical issues, that would be great. Oh shit, now I've gone and broken it. Welcome back to the podcast. It's been a minute and I'm sorry about that. Basically, as you know, life's been somewhat in the toilet and I am getting on top of it. So, yeah, we're just trying to get basically to a point where we can get... Oh, is that working? You have sound? All good. There we go. Okay, great. Cooking with gas. Thanks, team. Yeah, and obviously you guys see that the comments are open, so feel free to ask any questions. A couple of bits. We are back. It's been a minute. Sorry about that. Life's been in the toilet. We're working on it. If you ordered your merch in the last shipment, your merch, which you should get, empirestore.nz, that should be on. You should be getting that today. A few people told me that they got it today. And if you want to watch this or listen to this more specifically, this will be going straight onto Spotify. As soon as we're done here, I'll just bang it straight up there. Big shout out to Lance for making that possible. He got all the back end stuff sorted out, so good to go. But today we're going to be talking about mental health around fitness, because fitness is something that can be amazingly great for your mental health, but it can also, if you take it too far, can be a little bit much. So today on the show, I have got me mate, Bridget. Hello, Bridget.
Hi.
Thanks for coming in.
That's all right.
Yeah, so I guess what I want to let's first just sort of get to where you're at with fitness, because you're in Auckland for a comp that you're now no longer competing in.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So, hi, I'm Bridget. Not anymore. I was a bikini competitor. And yeah, so I've gone my ups and downs with that and fitness over the last 4.5 years. And yeah, I was meant to compete this weekend and decided to pull out a couple of weeks ago.
So I guess give people an idea of kind of what kind of level you're at with training in terms of, because you're not just going to the gym, 4 or 5 times a week to go, okay, I just want to be in shape. Like, you're really training hard.
Yeah, so I think people don't understand the level of which athletes go, because people just think of it as like a gym thing, and they think of that's what they think of when they think of fitness, as people training, but they don't realize that it's like a whole wake up, go to sleep kind of lifestyle. It's a whole thing. It completely takes over your entire life. It's a very addictive type. I don't know how to explain it. It's your life. It's essentially, which can be great, but not so great as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess this is the thing, because I mean, for me, certainly last year, Mum was sick with cancer and that was shit, and the gym for me was something that it was. Obviously, there was, a lot going on at that time, and I found that just getting to the gym for a couple of hours a day, it was sort of like a, I guess, guilt-free outing, because I was doing something that was beneficial. But it set me up for so many other things, because, it made me eat better, it made me get up at different times, it made me schedule my days and all of these sorts of things.
Yeah.
And I guess the knock-on effect, aside from just getting in better shape and getting stronger, it had all of these positive things around it, which now that I've been off training we'll get into that in a bit, but I've just found that it's sort of, a lot of my structure and direction is gone.
Yeah.
And I find that really difficult. So, I mean, but I mean, you're taking this to a whole different level.
Yeah, no, definitely. I was listening to another podcast, some really smart people, and they called it the Sport of Starvation, which I thought was quite funny, because...
That sounds like a terrible sport.
Well, that's the thing. Well, if you think about it, that's literally what bodybuilding is. It's a sport of starvation. It's starvation over a long period of time to become freakishly lean, pushing your body to the absolute limit, where people kind of glorify it to be this, beautiful thing, which it is, but it definitely has its dark side that people don't talk about as much.
And I guess that's where most people don't ever get to, and they don't see. I know people that have competed at that level who will be like, no, I don't drink water for 3 days before, and things like that.
Yeah.
And I'm and I start to question, where's the health aspect in this?
Yeah, so there's definitely, I think a lot of that stuff with the whole not drinking water stuff and the playing around with sodium and everything, that definitely is less of a thing now, as we've become more educated around the sport and everything, and there's definitely safer ways of doing everything now. But I think it's more the mental impact that the sport has on a person is crazy. Because the thing is, when you're prepping, you feel amazing. Obviously, you feel tired and you feel hungry, but you feel insane. There's no feeling like being absolutely shredded and you just feel, I don't know how to explain it, but, and then that just to be ripped away from you straight after show, and you're never going to look like that again. And coming to the realization of that is like very hard mentally on you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess the closest I ever got was before we went into lockdown, and I'd added about 20 kilos to my frame, and me and another guy at the gym that I was at, we were like, can I have a deadlift off on the day that we all went into lockdown? And yeah, I was force feeding 5-6 meals a day. I was training 2-3 hours a day, and for me, it never got to a detrimental level. Like, I was enjoying it, and I was just adding more and more and more to my, I guess, weekly regime. But I can see how people take it way further.
Yeah. No, definitely. And that's when I knew that I needed to take a step back, because it was like the reason why I'm in the fitness industry from the beginning was I love training. I love pushing myself, but it's the training. Like, I absolutely love my training. Anyone that's ever trained with me is like, wow, like, she's passionate about her training. Like, I leave it all out on the gym floor. And once I no longer start enjoying my training, that's when I'm like, something needs to change. Because to me, enjoying my training sessions every time that I train is more important to me than getting on a stage and getting a medal or a placing, because that doesn't mean anything to me. Like, enjoying my life and my training, which is like my passion, is so much more important to me. I'd rather give up a stage for a couple of years than jeopardize myself further, get on that stage, and then maybe further destroy myself and then never be able to compete again.
Do you think that you or people at the level that you're at are training to a point where they're doing themselves real damage in the long term?
I think that, like, I obviously can't speak for other people. I think that everyone that competes will receive some kind of damage from it, if that makes sense, because we all go through, like, severe body dysmorphia. I believe that something that definitely isn't talked about enough in the competing community is the, like, binging and purging and starvation and stuff post-show, where people can't get out of the cycle of binging, so they're like, I just won't eat for a day and get back into it. Because I've talked to quite a few females that have struggled with it post-show, and I've really helped them with kind of coping with that and learning to get out of that spiral, because it definitely is a spiral, and it's something that's definitely not talked about. And I think that's a thing that I think that majority of competitors, not all, majority of competitors definitely do struggle with, is the whole eating side of thing. Because you said before how when you started, like, training consistently, it created this routine for you.
Yeah.
So when you're in prep, you were extremely routines. Every hour of your day is completely mapped out. Yeah. And then you do your show, that all disappears. And then that's just it. Your life falls apart. And even if you say you've got a routine, you're going to stick to it post show, when you don't have that end goal, it is hard. Like, it is harder than the prep itself. Well, see, direction is actually a really important thing that I was definitely planning on talking about, because given my situation at the moment, where, I'm in general in life, I'm feeling quite lost, which makes me have zero motivation to go to the gym, because it's like, what am I training for? Yeah. No, definitely. And yeah, I think I think to a certain degree, majority of competitors do take something from it. Like, it takes a part of you away. But then I think any sport at a competitive level definitely takes a part of you away, if it's swimming or running or whatever. They're all very high impact sports that do take a toll on you. But there's definitely smart ways of going around it and everything. And a big part that I say to anyone when I have girls come to me and they go, I want to compete, I want to get into competing, I go, how are you mentally? Yeah. How's your relationship with food? Do you eat consistently? The biggest question I say is, tell me what you know about the sport. They can't tell me a single thing. I'm like, go do some research. Do they just see what's on Instagram? Yeah, they just see what's on, and that's the thing that annoys me, is there's so much more to it. And I literally say this to every single girl. I was actually talking to a girl today that I was taking through posing, and I was explaining this to her. And I actually say this to the girls, and I go, would you sit in an exam and not know what the exam is? I did. Yeah, but so you don't even know if it's going to be math, you don't know if it's going to be English, you don't know if it's going to be science, You're just going to walk into this room, get told you're going to sit down and do an exam, you have no idea what's on the paper. Yeah. But you're going to kill yourself to get there. Like, what? Yeah. Like, you need to do the research. You need to know what you're getting yourself into, because so many people just see it as this glamorous thing, especially with bikini, which I do. They just see it as this glamorous, beautiful girls, long hair, shiny bikinis, tan, shredded, and they're like, I want to do that. So they do it, and then they get to the show, and then their whole life just falls apart. They gain 20 plus kgs, and then they never step foot in a gym again because they just destroyed themselves because they had no idea what they were getting themselves into.
Do you think that within the industry or within like your sport in general that there's enough mental health support from the people that are doing the pushing, like the coaches and the people that are putting on the shows and stuff like that?
No. So this is another discussion I actually had today with a girl that competes, is she was like, it was actually really hard, like what she talked about when she first competed, it was actually really hard to find information on it. Like to figure out what I was actually meant to do, or find about coaches, or find about what my class actually does, or like just finding information on the sport was really hard.
Yeah.
So she was like, oh, I had to turn to like YouTube and watch, you know, competitors through that and everything like that. But it's true though. Like I definitely think that there should be more of a more help in that aspect of, like, I think like going into a show, like before you even start dieting, you should have a full-on plan for after. Like you don't stick with your coach for the 12 weeks or the 16 weeks that you're dieting. You stick with them for, you know, 12 weeks post-show to get you in a good place. So then you could then continue living your life as a normal person.
Out of curiosity, just completely off topic, how much does somebody on average spend on coaches, nutritionalists, training, all of that to be at a level to compete?
If I was to like average out from like different coaches I've worked with over the time, I'd say probably if I was to average it out, 75 a week.
Oh, that's not so bad.
Yeah, that's average. I'm pretty lucky with the coaches I work with at the moment. I was actually sponsored by them this year, and they're some really amazing coaches from overseas. And these are the first coaches where I've been like, wow, like this is what a coach is. Like they've been there for me through everything, my decisions to stop competing, everything. Didn't judge me, didn't make me feel bad. Put me on a plan straight away to then bring me out. And that's what I mean. That's really important to have
an
coaches.
exit strategy.
That is like, doesn't make you feel guilty, doesn't make you feel bad, gives you that exit strategy so you feel safe, fuels your body, so then you don't go into the whole binging and restricting and everything.
I was actually having a chat with a mate about that the other day, and she was saying that, she found herself just going to Pack and Save, buying a pack of donuts and smashing the whole thing in the car.
And you feel so anxious and you can't help yourself but keep doing it, and at the same time you want to stop but you can't.
Yeah.
And and the thing is, well, the thing that annoys me about like the topic of binging is that people don't see it as a health problem, but it's just as worse as anorexia.
Well, it's the opposite, isn't it?
It's the opposite, but it's literally just as worse. It's like you literally have no control. You literally have no control, because I've been through it. It's not fun. It's horrible, but you physically can't stop yourself.
Yeah.
And it makes you feel disgusting and gross. And I think some people never understand like the true idea of binging. Like some people will just be like, oh yeah, I've overate before, and I'm like, no, like binging is like, it's like you literally you almost see yourself doing it, and you're like, what am I doing? But you can't stop yourself. And it's just it's a crazy cycle, and it's something that like I battled with from like the age of 14.
So how did you even get into this? What attracted you to the sport in the first place?
Like competing?
Yeah.
Well, like I said, I love training. So I started playing sport from a very young age, and I was always very active, playing multiple sports, training a couple of times a week. I was always very active. And then I started training with weights at home. And then that was no longer enough, moved into a gym. And from the age of 15, I think I was 15, I saw like the bikini category. I'm pretty sure this is around about when the bikini category kind of started, a couple of years after it started. And I was like, oh, that's cool. I was like, I like that shape. I think that's cool. And so I started researching it when I was 15. So I was very educated when I started in terms of like what I knew about it all and everything.
Do you think that's a good age to be starting something like that,
No.
given how much you're putting your body through?
No, so that's the thing, is that like I was always very hyper active and everything, like always exercising way too much and caring way too much about how I ate from a very, very young age. But that was all I knew, so I thought that was quite normal, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the thing is I guess my concern with it is that, I mean, we see, we take it a step back from what you do specifically, but in terms of, your average sort of, my kid's 8 years old and he wants to go and play rugby, and, you got the sideline dads, and you've got this immense amount of pressure on young people to be performing at a high level in sport. I guess that sort of, I don't know, but I'm assuming it's that kind of 13 to 20-year-old age bracket where you can just do so much damage to yourself when you're still growing.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. And I know that my fixation on exercise from a very young age, it stemmed from a bad place. It didn't stem from a good place. It wasn't it was a coping mechanism for my life. It wasn't it was a positive in terms of it made me feel good, but it was because that was the only thing in my life that kind of gave me that feel good, if that makes sense. So it was something that I fixated on in order to kind of keep myself.
Oh, I can totally relate to that.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like it's what a majority of people do, but starting that from such a young age, no. That was not healthy because it became my world, and then it started to be the thing that I was identified as, was the girl that exercised too much and all that kind of stuff. And I look back at some of the behaviours I had at a young age, and it was just nuts. And I was like, why was I doing that? But yeah, it was just, it's weird. And I think that's kind of why I've decided at 22 to take that step back, because I never had that step back from the age of 14.
Well, let's talk about that. So, I mean, you've been training your ass off for so long to compete in these sorts of events.
Yeah.
What changed?
This year's been probably my hardest year in terms of life changes and decisions that I've had to make
outside of sport.
Yeah, outside of sport. I always had a very, very, very challenging upbringing. I didn't have an easy upbringing, so it takes a lot for me to be like, this was a challenging year. Yeah. With losses and stuff, and I thought that I was a lot better than I was mentally, and then a couple of things happened. Ran into some people that I really didn't want to run into, which brought up a lot of feelings and emotions. Had a couple of discussions with people that mean a lot to me, and kind of talked about goals and stuff, and it was playing around in my head for a while, kind of what do I want to be known as? What do I want my impact on the world to be? I was like, do I want to be known as, I want to look like that shredded little blonde girl that steps on stage and influence people to do the same when I know the damage it's doing to me? Or do I want to be known as that small jacked girl that lifts heavy weight, that influences females to eat food, be healthy, and care about their mental health?
You said the I word, influence.
I know, I said it, but you know what I mean? But that's the thing though, when you put yourself on social media and you portray an image, it is going to influence people. They're going to see someone really shredded, and they're going to be like, I want abs like her, but they don't realise, this is what I've been saying to heaps of girls when they message me, because I get a lot, they're like, I want to look like you. I straight reply with, you don't want to feel like me.
That's an interesting response.
Because it's true. It's true. I was like, you might want to look like me, but you don't understand what the hell's going on in my head or my day-to-day life in order for me to look like that. Yeah. You don't want to feel like that. And that's kind of the turning point. I was like, I'm sick of feeling like this. I don't want this.
And so how were you feeling on a day-to-day, 2 weeks ago when you were sort of making up your mind?
Well, because it was
this?
My prep was going great, right? Prep, everything's moving well. I looked the best shape I've ever been in my life. Literally could have stepped on stage kind of thing. I was there. I was good to go. And I was just over it, because from the age of 14, I've counted my food. I've been extremely restrictive, over-exercising. That's, 8 years of just being hyper-focused on every single tiny little detail of my life. And it's mentally draining and tiring. And I was like, I'm done. I was like, I need a break. I was like, I'm over this. I want to go out and I want to eat. I don't want to track how much fat's in food. I don't want to worry about calories. I don't want to do cardio. I just want to live my life and lift heavy shit. And I want to feel good. I want to feel strong again, back when I was powerlifting. I would just want to feel like a beast. I want to grow. I don't want to have to worry about my legs getting too big or, my arms getting too big. I just want to be a machine and be the athlete that I know I am. Yeah. And that's what I want. And, it was kind of like a, oh, fuck moment, because I was kind of and I know that's hard for my followers to see when I decide to pull out, because they're all very invested in my journey. Yeah, and supportive of what you want to do. And for me to just pull out, and because everyone knows that I'm a very driven person, very, very driven. I'm very all or nothing kind of thing. So for me to just do that, people know that there's something up, because my followers know me very well. And I was like, look, I'm done. I'm over it. I don't want to do it anymore. And it took a very hard hit for me to realize that. And then people are like, oh, but why? And I was like, but why do I need to explain myself? I'm just done. I don't want to do it.
Do you think you'll ever go back to it?
At this moment in time, like right this second, no. Maybe 2-3 years down the road, my life might be different and I might want to step back into it. But like I think in order for me to get that full clarity and recovery from the restriction for the past like 8 years that I've had, I need it to not be in the picture, right?
Well, I mean, I guess that's the thing, because I mean, you're only 22 now, right? That's your entire formative years of going from an adolescent to an adult, living in a very restrictive lifestyle.
Yeah, and it's not healthy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a good. I guess. How did you? What came up in your life that made you look at it and go, "I'm not happy with this, and I want to make a change." You don't have to talk about it if you don't want to.
No, it's all good. Yeah. So I was talking to someone quite close to me who understands me very well, probably knows me more than I know myself, and goes and says to me, you know, you're so much more than this.
Yeah.
Like, you shouldn't be seen as a bodybuilder. You've got so much more to, like, give to the world. And I was like, well, I'm not obsessed. Like, I'm not... What are you on about? Like, and it's like, Bridget, you literally live, breathe. I was like, no. I was like, I'm so much more than a bodybuilder. Like, yeah, you are. And I was like, shit.
Yeah.
Fuck, you're right. And I was like, oh, no. Because that's the thing is I want to do so much more. And I don't want to be known for being shredded. That's lame.
Yeah.
I want to be known for change, right? And it just kind of was just like a lingering thing in the back of my mind for a while, and then a couple of bad events happened, and just shit happened, and I realized how unhappy I was, and I was just over feeling like crap.
Do you think that your escapism using fitness ran out?
I think I realized, because I always known that I've used it as an escape, but what I think it is that I realized that it was an escape, but in a negative way, in terms of like I was using it to cover my problems instead of helping it fix my problems, or like I wasn't fixing any of my problems, if that makes sense. So my problems were just getting amplified and worse over... And ignored. Yeah, over 8 years of, like, no joke, I remember the exact point, like when that started when I was 14. Yeah. And I remember the event that caused it. And it's literally 8 years of me just like ignoring so much shit that happened to me over that 8 years, and just ignoring it. And then I was just like, I need to face these emotions head on. Yeah. And I can tell you the past 2 weeks, I've cried like every day, because it's been so hard actually facing all this shit head on. Yeah. And it's horrible, but at the same time, it feels good to feel something, because I was hiding all of that like behind exercise, that I never really felt sad or, you know, actually understood how I felt. And so I'm actually like really in my feelings now, which is good, and I know that I need to in order to actually fully heal from everything, if that makes sense.
And that's the thing, when you come up for air, you just realize how much shit's still there.
Yeah.
And somebody actually, I can't remember who it was that told me, but there's a book out there called Lean Into Discomfort. If someone wants to Google that and comment below who wrote that book, I'd like to credit them. But yeah, and that someone said it to me once, and they said, you got to go read this book. And I'm not a book reader kind of a guy, but basically the guy gave me the synopsis, and it was, there's so much drama going on in all of our lives, and it's so much easier just to avoid it and not think about it and deal with it later. And I'll go to the gym and I'll make dinner, and then now I'm in bed and I haven't dealt with it. Yeah. And leaning into it is what people effectively need to learn how to do, because it gives you the skills to be able to deal with things better later on. Yeah. And I've definitely found that. I mean, over my last 5 years or so, I've done nothing but lean into discomfort. Yeah. And I can tell you, it's really hard work. I mean, even in the last month or so, I've made some really life-changing decisions coming from really negative places that are going to have a positive outcome. Yeah. It's very easy to avoid those things and get consumed by something else. Yeah. And then when it finally hits you, you realize how... and it's the exact same thing as when you say to someone, go join to the gym, and you wish you'd started 6 months ago. Yeah. It's exactly the same with dealing with problems in your own mental health.
Yeah, exactly. And for me, so I moved houses like just over a month ago, which was something I needed to do because I was in a very, very toxic environment. And I knew the damage it was doing for me because I lived in that environment my entire life. But you don't sometimes notice until you're out of it. And it's that whole leaning into discomfort. And I was like, I know this is going to be hard leaving, but I need to do it.
Yeah.
And so doing that brought up a lot of, I didn't think it was going to bring up so many emotions leaving, because you would think leaving a toxic environment into a healthy environment would be good.
Yeah.
Which it is, but it's honestly harder than doing it the other way. Like, it's so much harder being in a healthy environment because it makes you realize how shit your life was.
Yes.
And honestly, the past month, like, that I moved out into this, I'm in the most amazing household with the most amazing people, and I'm so grateful. But it made me so upset because I was like, wow, like, I was being mistreated like that badly. And I was like, holy shit. And that definitely kind of helped me kind of move in this direction of, I need to take a step back, because I realized, like, this isn't okay. And I realized that I really need to, like, sort through all the shit that I had been going through, because it was getting to the point where I couldn't put my 100% into my training or anything like that. And I just didn't want to train, and I didn't want to do anything, and I just wanted to be at home. And I was like, why am I prepping if I'm not prepping?
Yeah.
You know, I was eating the food right, you know, doing what I had to do, but I wasn't there. Like, my head wasn't in the game.
Yeah.
And I no longer wanted to do it. I was more just doing it because people knew I was prepping, so I felt like I had to follow through. But I was like, I don't even want to do it. So why am I killing myself to do it? I was like, I don't want to do it. So I was like, nah.
Well, Brian in the comments has asked, how do you get balance, or do you think that, like, with that lifestyle?
With that lifestyle, oh, you definitely can. You definitely can. Like, I would say, it's like I said, like, you need to be aware. And I think that's the biggest thing, is that you need to be aware of the pros and the cons is the biggest thing if you want to find balance in the sport.
Yeah.
So you need to understand the bad that comes with the good. And you know what? There is a lot of good in the sport. Like, I still absolutely love the sport. I can talk about it for hours. Like, I love it. It's a very strong passion of mine. I'll always be in that side of the industry. Even if I'm not competing, I will be doing something to help. I'll be doing people's hair, or helping them with posing, or coaching people. I will always be there. There's so much good, but yeah, you have to understand the good with the bad, and you need to be willing to sacrifice, and you need to be able to, you know, set aside time to learn and to actually make sure that you are in a good place. Like, financially is a big thing, because it's in a very expensive sport. It's not a cheap sport, and that can cause a lot of stress. So it's just making sure that, like, you're aware of everything, and knowing that you've actually got the help that you need, and you've got a good support system around you in terms of friends and family, and you've got a good coach that actually knows what they're doing and isn't making you eat the same 5 meals every time of the day. Because
don't get me started on fitness charlatans.
There's no nutrition in that, and guess what? You're gonna feel terrible. Like, it's just kind of like, there's so many amazing smart coaches out there now.
Yeah.
That do it in such a healthier way, but then there's still so many really. Yeah, that just, and it's really upsetting, because they're ruining people, and that's what makes me so angry, is that they're literally putting people in really bad places, and it's just gonna ruin them. So it's like, do your research, find a good coach, make sure your life is in a good place financially.
Is there any coaches that you want to shout out from around the country?
Well, my coaches aren't from New Zealand.
Oh, you get coached internationally?
Yeah, so my coach is, he's actually a coach for, like, pro-level athletes.
Yeah.
So he's from Team Cosmic Bodies, but I know that, like, in New Zealand, what's his name? Jordan. I can't remember his last name off the top of my head. You'd probably find him quite easy if you were to search up Jordan. I can't remember his name. And then I know that Kurt is really good. Like, I know there's a lot of they work off quite, like, science-based stuff, which I like.
Yeah.
It's not like bro science, which is like, come on, guys.
There's nothing wrong with bro science.
Yeah, but there's a level of, like, bro science is like, I do some bro science.
Eat lots,
stuff.
lift heavy.
Exactly. But when it comes to, like, someone's health,
yeah,
you need a, you know,
well, and that's the thing, because they're
stuff.
putting you on such a knife edge of your physical and mental state to get to that level.
Yeah.
Like, you've really got to know what you're doing.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And you need to, even though, you know, we might be eating very, very minimal food, you need to make sure the food we are eating is good, you know, and there's a level of, do we keep pulling food, or would we rather just, you know, lose weight very, very slowly and just let you sit here because we know that you're healthier here, or now let's just fuck it up and just absolutely destroy you, and then your metabolism is absolute arse, and then you just got to rebound really bad because your ghrelin is going to be punching you in the face, and then, you know, like, it's kind of like, it's just, you have to as a coach, you need to identify, like, is it worth me putting my client into this position? Or do I tell it to my client straight and be like, these are our options? And that's the thing, is like a lot of coaches don't do that. They don't communicate both ways with their clients and actually give them options, or be like, hey, like, this is where we're heading. Do you want to do this or do you want to do that? And actually give and take, if that makes sense, instead of just do this.
Well, and that's what gets me about all these online people that are like, oh, sign up for my online thing, and it's just a cookie cutter course, and they don't even know you, they've never met you. They're just,
what deficiencies you have, or what type of lifestyle you live.
Well, my big one's injuries, because I've had so many injuries. Like, was it a year and a half ago I tore this rotator cuff bench pressing?
Yeah.
18 years ago, I've had 3 reconstructions on this shoulder from being a dickhead on motorbikes. But, I mean, and I remember I went to this personal trainer, and he was like, when I was living in Tauranga, and he's like, oh, no, I specifically do rehabilitation training. And he had me doing shit that was really doing damage. And I just said to him, like, in the middle of a session, like, dude, you're a fucking idiot. I'm out of here. Like, get fucked.
Yeah.
But the problem is that, like, how do you qualify that? Other than just the word around the gym of that guy's an idiot or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I mean, like, how can you even tell if someone's good anymore?
Well, what I say is, one, so do your research, look at like kind of their media and stuff, and then message their clients, talk to their clients, talk to their ex-clients. You know, that's the big one, right?
Yeah, because everybody left for a reason.
Yeah, everyone leaves for a reason. But the thing is, not always a bad reason, because I've left coaches when they haven't been bad. It's just because, you know, I've decided I want to go down a different route and I like a different style of training better, you know, kind of thing. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that, because there's a reason why there's so many coaches, because everyone needs a different person. But yeah, it's doing your research. So looking them up. I always say, call them, video chat them, ask them heaps of questions. If they know what they're doing, they'll be able to answer straight away without flinching, right? Yeah. If they're umming and ahhing or not getting to the point, they probably don't know what they're doing. So they should be able to give you a straight up answer, or they'll take over and be like, well, this is how I run it and this is how we would do it. They'll use we. They'll actually make you feel comfortable, you know? Like, you know when you get along with someone, and the thing is, you need to have that rapport with the coach, because you're going to go through hell together. Yeah. So it's kind of like, you need to have that communication back and forth. If you don't have that communication, don't go with them. Just because someone else did doesn't mean they're right for you. And I think that's the big thing. Because I've made that mistake before, where I went with a coach because they had a big social media following, and I'd been following them for years, and I was like, oh, this is so cool. This is so cool. The whole influencer thing, right?
Fucking influencers.
And I was like, oh my God, yes, I'm going to get like jacked and real shredded. And this was last year. So last year's show that I competed in. And off season was great. Food was super high, eating lots of food, training hard, definitely grew, all that kind of stuff. And this is what I mean by the give and take, right? So coaches need to be able to listen, and they need to be able to take from what their clients are saying, give them what they want and what they need. It's a mixture of all of it. And I was like, hey, I work full-time, like 40 plus hours on my feet. You know, I walk everywhere. My knee is super high. I'm always on my feet. Got to like 7 weeks out, right? So working on my feet all day, 2 hours of cardio a day on top of that, and it wasn't just like walking. It was like get on the Stairmaster and push it hard, right? On top of being on my feet all day retail, and then I was eating, it was 860 calories of food a day. It's 7 weeks out.
That sounds like fuck all.
7 weeks out.
Yeah.
That's like a meal. That's a small meal.
I was going to say, that doesn't even sound like a meal.
That's messed up. That's not okay. That's fucked up. That's someone using their following and something to build a business to get money, but not actually knowing what they're doing. And I was literally being run into the ground, and I got to 7 weeks out, and I was like, I know about food. I know about the stuff. I obsess over it. I know when something's right and when something's wrong. And I was like, dude, what the hell are you doing? I was eating like literally 3,000 plus calories a day, and then within like 9 weeks, my food had dropped to like 860 calories. And I was like, bro, what the actual hell? And 2 hours of cardio on top of it. I was keep telling him, I was like, dude, my legs are screwed. I was training legs 3 times a week, on my feet all day, doing all this cardio. And I was like, dude, like, I feel like I'm dying. And he was like, no, you're fine. And I was like, no, I'm not. I just told you. And he was like, no, you're just on prep. And I was like, hun, the year before, I lost 20 kgs to get on stage, and it felt like a breeze compared to this. I was like, this is not okay. And so I was like, I'm done. I was like, I was like, I can't do this. I was like, you're literally killing me.
So we don't recommend this guy.
No. Yeah, no. And it was just insane. I was just like, the fact that they thought that was okay, and the fact that I literally said to him, I feel like I'm dying. I used those words, and he said, you're fine. You're just on prep.
Arrogance.
And that's what I mean by you need to give your clients what they want and what they need. So there's a level of, you could just keep pushing them and grinding them into the ground. But is that what's best for them?
Yeah.
Like, trust me, I was not in a good place. I was not, like, that is enough to mess with you massively.
And that's assuming that you don't have a lot going on outside of training.
Yeah. And then if you do have a lot going on outside of training as well, that really messes you up. Like, I just got out of, like, a relationship and had to move back into a toxic environment that I didn't want to be in, and was having to look after very sick people that I didn't even like, but I had to look after them because they were family, There's, like, all this stuff, and then it was all this pressure and not eating, and then being on my feet all the time, getting, like, max, like, 4 or 5 hours of sleep a night, and just feeling like absolute shit. I was just like, I've got nothing left to give, And that definitely had a run-on effect and really did affect me going into this show, because I struggled with, like, an eating disorder all throughout my childhood and teenagehood, and I started to have, like, moments of, like, wanting to binge and all that kind of stuff, and I started to notice, like, behaviours coming back, and I was like, oh, hell no. Like, I was like, I don't want to feel that again. I don't want to go through that again. And I was like, that's not okay. And that was definitely, like, a factor of me deciding not to compete, like, this weekend, because I started to feel those behaviours come back, and I was like, I don't want to ever binge again. It is the most horrible feeling. And I was like, I don't want this. I was like, I can't do this. And my coach was like, if you don't want to do this is fine. And he's like, you could push through, or we can just reverse out now. And I said to him, and I was like, the thing is, I'm such a strong-willed, driven person that I could 100% push through, and I could 100% do these last 3 weeks and bring something absolutely fucking insane. But the thing is, I know that I'll do that, and I will crash and burn so bad.
Yeah.
Like, so bad. But I know if I stop right now and start reversing, I'll be able to reverse fine, and I'll be able to come out of this healthy, and I'll be able to then set myself up for the future and not ruin the sport for me.
Yeah.
And so that's when you kind of have to be smart about it. But the thing is, when you're that lean, your brain kind of goes out the window. So that's where your coach comes in, and they need to be able to, like, bring you down and be like, should you be doing this? And they need to be able to say that. And that's when you can tell if a coach is there for money, or if they're actually there for their clients, because they'll be honest and they'll be like, hey, you shouldn't be thinking like that. Or
so how did that conversation with the coach go?
Well, we had a really good rapport, really good friendship. So I would call him. So I called him, and I was like, hey, I've had a really bad couple of weeks, and I've just really been trying to, like, push through. And I was like, I've someone that's always 100% or nothing. And I was like, and I just feel like I just can't put 100% into it. I was like, I haven't cheated on anything. I've been doing everything as I'm told to be doing. And my prep wasn't hard. I was still eating a good amount of food. I wasn't doing any cardio or anything like that. But my head just wasn't in it. And I told him that. And I was like, and that's weird for me, because I've always been really into it. And I said to him that I started having feelings of wanting to binge, but then at the same time I had feelings of wanting to starve myself and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, I just don't feel like I should be doing this right now. And he was like, no, 100% agree. He was like, if you're having these feelings right now, there's no point pushing through. Like, he didn't try convince me to keep going, where a lot of coaches would be like, no, do it, because it's good for them, because they get photos of a girl on stage that they can then use on their social media.
Yeah,
he was like,
marketing.
He was like, no, you're young, you're talented, you've got the genetics for it. We'll just reverse you out. We'll get you eating. We'll get you intuitively eating. Like, he actually said that. He was like, I want to get you off tracking, so not thinking about how much food I'm consuming, and get me intuitively eating. So that's going to help with preventing, like, overthinking of food focus and all that kind of stuff. Get me at a good place, and we're still working together and everything. And he never made me feel pressured. He never made me feel uncomfortable. Like, I was open book to him all the time, and you need that, because if you don't, like, you feel guilty, and then you're more likely to mess up and then hide away and not tell your coach, not check in, and then you're up weight, and they're like, why are you up weight? And then they add more stuff in, and it's just a mess. So I'm very lucky.
Well, I mean, it sounds to me like the thing that you're most lucky about is that you saw and you identified and acted on bad behaviours and turned it around for yourself.
Yeah.
That is such a critical thing for people in life in general.
Yeah.
To be able to sit back and go, holy shit, I'm having some really bad thoughts, particularly for you in your sport, but in general, like, you're sitting here and you know that you're going down a path that's not healthy. You identified it and you acted on it.
Yeah.
That is fucking huge.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and it's because I started going down that path, like, it would be almost 3 years ago now. I fully crashed and burned, like, very bad, like, very, very bad. And I was starting to feel that. And I was like, I don't want to be back in that place. Like, it's taken me 3 years to get away from that place. I'm meant to be progressing. I'm meant to be progressing. And sometimes that means taking a step back to step forward, and that's completely fine. Because at the end of the day, like, I've always said this, like, with competing and everything, I've always said my health comes first. As soon as my health is jeopardized, I'm out.
Yeah.
And I've always said that because it's not worth it at the end of the day. Like, would you rather be, like, mentally stable, be able to, like, eat food and not feel bad about it, be strong, enjoy your life, or hate everything about your life but then be able to look in the mirror and be like, yeah, I look sick? Yeah. Like, is that happiness?
Well, and I guess that's the thing is, I mean, it's down to what people are actually going to put into their lives, to what they, I guess this is like you were saying before, you were saying that, you want to open people's eyes to what they're getting themselves into at an early stage. Yeah. To understand the pros and the cons and the good and the bad and the highs and the lows. Yeah. Most people, when they see a photo on Instagram and that's what they get fixated on, they're going to get fixated on that and they're going to ignore whatever you say. Yeah. That's the hard part about people. That's human nature. Yeah. As a guy, you might see, I mean, my thing was strongman. I like the strongmen. Like Eddie Hall, people like that. And I was like, holy shit, Thor, Brian Shaw, people like that. And I was like, man, that's what I want to do, And I started on it, man. I added 20 kilos to my frame in under a year. Yeah. And I was like eating like a motherfucker. And I was like, yeah, this is all good. This is all good. And I was ignoring all my injuries. My knees are fucked. Yeah. Absolutely fucked. And I'm just like, I'm at the point where, like, was that worth it? Like I said, I was talking to my mate the other day and I was saying, like, I would never, ever go down that track again. No. Like, once I get myself settled, I will go back to the gym and I will get back into doing all the same things I was doing, but there's no way in fuck that I'm training 3 hours a day and eating 6 meals a day. No. Like, that's not smart. No. Yeah, and it's learning to identify that. It's like, it's hard, and a lot of people can't do that. But I think part of how I was able to identify that was having such a safe environment to be honest. If that makes sense. So, like, having 100%. A coach that you can be honest with, having close friends that so the people the closest to me, I'm completely open about, like, my whole past, because I know that I go very tunnel visioned when I'm not okay, and I ignore everything. So, like, with the whole injuries and stuff, I will literally ignore everything, including people. And it's not that I turn into a bad person, I just completely zone everything out. Yeah. And I don't care about anything but what's right in front of me. And it wasn't until one of my great mates said this, he was like, that you just, like, literally just push it, just, you're right there and that's it. You don't see anything else. And I was like, oh, fuck. I was like, I don't want to be that person. And sometimes you need people to, point that shit out for you, and you realize it, and then you start reflecting. And it definitely took me time. Like, it's 8 years of ups and downs and bad and worse, and to learn how to identify things. But I'm really big on, like, self-development and understanding your behavioral, like, your behavioral traits and everything, because it helps you develop yourself as a person, but it also helps you with saving yourself when you start going down those tracks, and you can acknowledge it and come out of it, and that makes you stronger because you can acknowledge it and save yourself from it instead of falling down that. But also what I do is, people that are close to me, I go, hey, if I start doing these things, can you call me out on it? Yeah. Because if someone tells me I'm doing it, I see it and then I stop. So it's really important to actually be understanding of all those things when you do have mental health problems, and understanding your triggers and the behavioural traits that you start developing when things start to come up. Because, sometimes you don't know that your anxiety's coming back or your depression's coming back or anything, but you start doing weird things that kind of lead to it. Yeah. For me, it's the not putting my clothes away.
starts with the not putting my clothes away.
Do you make your bed every morning?
I do now. Yeah. But it starts with it starts with little things like not caring about doing this or not replying to anyone, starting to block everyone out, and then just like slowly shutting down over time. And then, and it just happens gradually. But if you can identify those things a lot sooner, you stop that from all happening, or you recognise, okay, what's causing me to do this?
Yeah.
Cool, change that.
And I guess that's the thing about reflection when, you talk about your own mental health. Most people these days who don't either suffer from or realise that they suffer from mental health issues is that they don't see it as a sliding scale that can be very fluid. I mean, certainly for me it's very fluid. I mean, 2 days ago I had a shit day. It was for no particular reason.
Yeah.
I was just having a bad day. I woke up on the wrong side of bed, but I could sit there and identify it. So I took myself, that was yesterday. So I just got in the car and went out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just went out, had lunch by myself, and just drove around for a couple of hours listening to music.
Yeah.
And got back, and I had some focus because I had some stuff to do. And then, and it gave me a little bit of direction, which made me happy. And then that all had a knock-on effect in a positive direction.
Yeah.
But the thing is being able to sit there and go, like, have I been triggered? Is there something existential that's going on? Being able to actually sit back and take your own stock and reflect on yourself and say, what is actually going on to make me feel the way that I'm feeling?
Yeah.
That's something that is really difficult to do. But, I mean, certainly for me, definitely when I was in therapy last time, not this time, because that's another story for another day. But, when I was first in therapy a couple of years ago, it was all about, like, understanding what is actually going on, learning coping mechanisms, learning processes to move through things in a positive way, which is how I got into the gym in the first place. That's the only reason I joined the gym, was because I was feeling very unhappy, and it was a way to get to a good direction of putting out energy into something that's going to turn into something positive later on.
Yeah.
And it was that nice transformation from the bad to the good. So that worked out swimmingly well. And the thing that's really hard is if you've never sat down and taken stock of your own mental health and saying, what are the things that are upsetting me? What are the things that are triggering me? What about my situation is making my life good or bad? Most people won't do that.
No.
No.
And
that's the thing is like the only reason that I've got through the last year and a half alive is because I had processes in place, which for most of last year was the gym.
Yeah.
That was my escapism. It was my safe place. It was my happy place, right? But then also just having coping mechanisms in terms of the sense of being able to say, okay, well, I know that if I apply this thing, then this thing's going to fall into place, and this thing's going to fall into place, and it just puts you on the right track.
Yeah.
Because actually, a friend of mine today was told me to go check out an app. I'll check what it was called, but it was basically how these sorts of things do have a bit of a cycle, and it's sort of like you updated it by the looks of it, and this is even the other side of it, because we were having a conversation about just going with the flow and going with the stars, because obviously for the last 6 months, 6 weeks, I've been a bit all over the place, and I've found that just letting go of the reins and just letting whatever's going to happen, and then just going along with it, basically. Like Monday, was it last night or the night before? No, it was last night. Was like, oh, hey, I'm going to go do boxing. Do you want to come? I was like,
oh, yeah.
I've never done boxing before.
Yeah.
I did martial arts for 20 years, but I've never done boxing. So I was like, okay, well, we'll go see what it's about. And I had an absolute ball.
Yeah.
It was the best thing. And like the guy that ran it, Jay, shout out Jay if you're watching, really, really switched onto it. Guy really helped me because my technique was shit. Like I had all the enthusiasm, but my technique was really bad because I'd never done it before.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, get down here, think about this, do this, do this. And then by the end of it, we were doing like 20 hit combos and I was dripping with sweat. It was fucking great. But it's about those just sort of go with the flow. Like I would never have gone to do that on my own volition. It was purely because I've just, my mate that I'm staying with was like, yo, I'm doing this, you're coming. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
My answer to everything at the moment is just, okay.
Okay. Yeah. No, I think that's, I've kind of been doing that the past couple of weeks, because like for the past 3 years, I've literally woken up at the same time, eaten meals at the same time, gone to bed at the same time. I don't drink, I don't do drugs. I'm just, it's not my thing, Okay. Yeah. For good reasons, more than bad. And And yeah, and then I'm still someone that is quite routine. I do like my routine, but I've done this thing where I'm like, I don't need to be so obsessive anymore. I can let go a bit. You know, I can be a teenager finally. And I know I'm 22, so I'm not a teenager, but I was never a teenager. So I can finally live a little, you know. So I've been like going out with my girls, even though I don't drink, but I'm like going out with them and like having fun and going dancing, like putting a dress on, which I never do. I'm always dressed in hoodie and, you know, leggings, and I've actually enjoyed dressing in normal clothes, which I never thought I would, because I never felt myself in normal clothes. I always felt weird and out of place and all that. So it's been like nice, like forcing myself to, if I'm not at the gym, I wear normal clothes. And that's like something I've kind of enforced for myself. And then, yeah, like going out and actually socializing, not being afraid to meet new people, doing stuff out of character, and just
meeting
kind of
strange men from the internet and coming on their podcast.
But, you know, like just pushing my comfort zone a bit.
Yeah.
And getting out. And the last 2.5 weeks, I've done so much. Like, so much stuff that I normally wouldn't do. And I've had so much fun and everything like that. And it's helped me so much. And I'm like, wow. And it's really made me notice, like, how cool life really is.
Yeah.
And so much more to it. Because when you get, like, tunnel visioned on an idea, so competing, for example, because I do get so tunnel visioned, I forget there's a whole world out there. And I was like, wow, there's so much more to the world than being lean. There is so much more in the world that matters.
Like
there's
pizza.
Yeah, but there's like so much more change and opportunities and like more exciting things I could be doing and with my time, and things that bring me so much more happiness than stepping on a stage and being lean. Like, I'm always going to love training. I love it. Like, no one can ever take that away from me. That is my thing. I love it so much. But there's outside of that, there's so much more to explore. And like, I'm a very artistic person. I love singing and dancing, and I write a lot of like poetry and short stories and all that kind of stuff. And I stopped doing all of that stuff that I love. Like, the other day I was like, wow, I haven't sung in weeks. I was like, that's sad, because that's something, I'm usually that person that walks around the house 24/7 singing, because I love it. And that stuff brings me so much joy. And it helps me process feelings and stuff and all that kind of stuff. And since I've stopped dieting, I've started singing and dancing and being silly and energetic and bubbly, and my personality's back, and even my friends have noticed it and stuff. And I just feel myself for once in 3 years, which is kind of sad, you know. I've got nothing holding me back now. And yeah, it just feels really good. And obviously I still, like, the past 2 weeks have been hard. Like, I've had many bad days, many bad days, because it's a hard thing to give up on a goal that you've been obsessed over.
Yeah.
As well as other things. But it's at the same time the most freeing feeling. And some people are like, oh, like, because I'm going to go watch the show on the weekend, of course. And people are like, oh, like, you know, you're going to sit there and be like, damn, I could have been up there. I could have done better. And I'm like, no. You do you. Like, you go up there, rock your shit. I'll be watching. I'll be cheering along. Go you. I'm proud of you. I'm going to celebrate with you guys. Have an absolute ball up there. Like, love it. And, you know, I'm not going to feel like I'm missing out, because I know that the stage is always going to be there. But my life isn't. You know, having fun, like, being a healthy person isn't always going to be there. And I'd rather live my life right now. That's what I want to do, finally, for myself. So I'm in a position to, like, I'm, for once in my life, in, like, a really, really healthy situation, very stable financially for the first time in my life. And I just want to live and not have any restrictions on my life. So it's very exciting times. And I was actually saying this, like, last night. I was like, I'm really excited for life. Like, I'm really excited. It's the first time I've ever said that. Like, I'm so excited to, like, live. And it just, like, feels really good to say that.
Yeah. You got any big plans yet?
Big plans in terms of what?
Well, what are you going to do with all this new opportunity?
I don't know.
But that's fun, though.
Yeah, no, that's the exciting thing, is that I always know. Like, I always know what I'm doing tomorrow and the day after, or where that's leading to. And I don't know. And I know that, like, I want to go back to my powerlifting roots, and I want to go, like, smash some goals that I've been wanting to smash for a while, because I'm relatively strong for my size, and I know that I can push that. But I won't compete anytime soon, because, like I said, I don't want to have restrictions, but I want to get back into that training, because that's where my love for lifting came from, is when I realized I could actually lift relatively heavy. And I was like, fuck yeah. I love being that small, impressive person that can, like, lift heavy shit and make people go, like, what the fuck is she doing? That's, like, my favorite thing ever. So I know I want to kind of get back into that. I want to spread way more awareness about like eating disorders and the fitness realm of things in terms of competitors and stuff. And I actually want to help competitors with that as well. Like even if it's just starting with like a small circle of like the girls that I know that compete. And just like work with them post show and help them with all that kind of stuff. And I have actually done that. Like last year, there's a few friends that I would actually call and talk through when they had binging episodes and stuff, and I would kind of help them with breaking that cycle because it's a really hard cycle to break. So I want to do a lot more of that. So I will start with just kind of like building more awareness of it on my accounts, like social media and stuff, and then kind of just head more in that direction of just trying to help people like learning how to realize their triggers and, you know, all those types of things that I taught myself to do. I want to help people learn how to do that and be self-aware, which I think is really important.
Yeah, that's fucking awesome.
Yeah, so I really want to kind of push that side of things because I wish that I had someone to do that for me. And I didn't. I had to learn it all the hard way and all on my own. So I want to do that. I have like a brand that I want to bring out, which is kind of exciting. I'm not going to bring it up but it's going to be fucking cool.
What are we talking about? We're talking about your own like fitness empire? Are you doing clothing? What are you doing?
Well, that's the thing. I guess I'd call it kind of like an empire type thing. But like, so let's talk about influencers.
Well, empire's taken. We've already got that.
Yeah, we won't do that. But you know, like influencers, right? Like the girls with the followings, they all bring out booty bands. They all portray this like cutesy, skinny, like, this is what women are in the fitness industry kind of look kind of thing, you know. Everything's very like prep and promer and all that. And then like me and my friends that train, like that are girls, we're all just like going to the gym like raggedy, don't give a shit, just rip weights off the ground, like, but then we like giggle in between sets and then we just like lift heavy weight and everyone looks at us like, what are these girls doing? Because we're just manic and we train fucking hard. Like people are always blown away. Like I love training with new people and they're always like, what the hell? And I'm like, we're here to do shit. You know, we're here to fuck around. We don't put on these booty bands and do like 100 booty band fucking hip thrusts or whatever. Like we go lift shit because we love training and it's all about just like going in there and fucking doing it, you know?
Yeah.
And so we don't want it to be a woman-based company. We want it to be unisex because fitness should be the same no matter the gender.
Yeah.
You know, it shouldn't be this brand's for females and this one's no, we're all the same. We should all train the same. We should all just fucking like lift big, go hard, put it all out there, you know, and just have this like empire of things. And it could, you know, it could start small and it could move into clothes. I don't know, but it's an idea that I would then want to grow.
That's all you need, an idea and motivation.
Exactly. And I just want it to just be about like lift big, like just go hard, like just go for it. And don't be afraid, like who cares if you're a female or you're a male, and it's not about how tight your leggings are or how cropped your t-shirt is, like wear the baggy tees, like chuck on a belt, just go wear some old cruddy Vans, like that's what I do, and just go rip weight off the ground, like go have fun. Like that's what it should be. So that's kind of like what I want to do, and that's where I want to head the fitness industry instead of the way that it's going, because I hate it. That's not the fitness industry I fell in love with, you know, and it's all gone now.
Do you think though, well, let me first say that sounds like a fucking awesome idea, and I'm 110% behind you, and I'll buy some shit.
And it's on here, so if someone takes it, hi.
Yeah.
It was mine.
But I mean, I guess the question I've got for that, in terms of the industry that you fell in love with, did you fall in love with an idea, or did you like have you learned over the years from being in the industry for so long what it actually is versus what you thought it was way back when? Is that what changed?
I fell in love with fitness without any influence. So when I first was like in the fitness realm and started kind of like lifting weights and stuff, I wasn't watching anything. I wasn't on social media because I was like quite young. So I wasn't looking at anyone, but I just loved the feeling. Like I fell in love with the feeling of training. So that's kind of like my idea, was the feeling and the way that it made you feel and empowered and in control and all that kind of stuff. And then and then there was like some people that I started following, and you know, I like the mentality behind things. There was no bullshit and everything. And then I feel it's only the last couple of years I just hate how it's like you can tell women brands apart from men's. And I understand there's a place for women brands and guy focused brands, but I just hate how like the way that fitness is portrayed for women is so different to the way fitness is portrayed to men.
Oh, 100%.
And I think that's bullshit. Yeah. Like, I've never trained like a female if you know what I mean.
Well,
And,
yeah, I mean, not to get off topic, but I mean, that whole idea where women often complain about, like, oh, well, I can't look like that. Like, I mean, have you seen cartoons of fucking G.I. Joe and He-Man?
yeah.
Like, that shit, that's no human.
No.
But that's what the expectation of guys is, which is
Yeah.
why guys end up taking fucking steroids.
Exactly. And they don't realise that, if you guys don't know this, if you got shit genetics, no matter how much drugs you take, you're never going to look that good. Like, it's genetic based, like, right? You need to have a good base. And 2, you need to know what you're doing. And 3, if you're taking drugs just to be the biggest guy in the room, it's not worth risking your health for.
Yeah, and that's probably something that goes really unnoticed. And again, it's because you've got that tunnel vision, you don't think about the consequences of taking that sort of stuff. Because, I mean, I know people that are 18, 19 that have been on that gear.
Oh, yeah.
It's so fucking bad for you. Like, I'd never do it because I've never had those kind of goals. I mean, but it's like, and I understand why people would do it.
Oh, yeah, no, 100%,
You know?
yeah.
I mean, then this is the thing about, when you talk about within the industry about expectations on women and expectations on men being different. But I mean, they are different, but in so many ways they're exactly the same. And pressure on women isn't more than on men or vice versa, because most of that pressure is self-inflicted.
Yeah.
Because, you might sit there and go, oh, well, I don't look like that guy in that magazine, or I don't look like that girl in that magazine. Nobody gives a shit except you.
No.
Right? And so all of that pressure that you put on yourself to go and do the extra yards, eat less, lift more, all of these things, it's all self-inflicted.
Yeah.
And that's probably where the cycle gets quite dangerous, because if you're the motivation and you're driving yourself in a bad direction, there's not really going to be that many people around to say, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, exactly. And it's also hard because you get in that cycle, right, of pushing yourself, and then you start getting complimented. And that's the dangerous thing. Like, so say you're lean and you're pushing yourself, but people don't realize that the way you're doing it isn't healthy, right? And people are like, wow, you look amazing. Then you're like, fuck, I have to keep this up. I can't gain the weight back.
Yeah.
And it's this pressure. And it's no one's fault, right? It's your own fault for putting that pressure on yourself or taking it as pressure. But it's hard when you're getting all this positive feedback, right? Because if you were to look at my analytics from when I'm shredded and when I'm not shredded, drastically different. Like the amount of likes or how much my followers go up or anything like that. And this creates this pressure of people only like me when I'm shredded.
And then that has a negative connotation in your mind to be like that all the time and post shit like that all the time.
Which I can't.
No.
Like, I physically can't.
But this is the thing that I struggle with social media. Ironic, I realise, because we're sitting here talking to everybody on Facebook. But, I mean, the thing is actually that's, of course, unless you're watching it on YouTube or Spotify after the fact. But if you're watching it live. But the point is that, like, you get this pressure that I guarantee that you've felt of needing to keep up appearances and continue to deliver all of these things that people have come to expect of you.
Yeah.
Because like you rightly say, when people turn around and say, when you go and post something that's not what people are expecting, then your analytics go down. I mean, personally, I don't really give a shit about analytics outside of, if we're selling advertising to marketing or whatever. But I mean, actually, almost ironically, my Monday morning mental health blogs, when I first started doing them 4 or 5 years ago, were like, nobody gave a shit.
Oh, yeah, no.
At all.
Yeah.
I'm very glad to say now that it's some of our most popular shit. And I guess the only thing that really changed with that is that I guess I was more open and more vulnerable, but it was something that I think is that where people have turned around and looked at what I'm doing and said, oh shit, I feel like that too.
Yeah.
And it's almost more relatable.
Yeah.
I mean, like we've got videos on YouTube of like, Steve flogging around brand new Ferraris and all sorts of like, things that are like super cool that we've had, a lot of luck in being able to be involved with. I guess there's sort of, this high living sort of shit that we put out on YouTube. Not that we don't enjoy it, but I mean, it's not as relatable for most people.
No.
Right?
No.
So when you put yourself out there and you're super shredded and you're super tan and people are like, man, I want to look like that all the time, like that's not fucking real.
No. And I think that's something that I try to do on my social medias. I'm very open on there because I know that like a lot of my followers, even though my following isn't big, like it's a pretty small following compared to if you were to put that, against big followers. But all my followers have been with me for years. like years, and it's crazy. And I'm really, really grateful for the followers that I have because they're very loyal and they've seen me go through literally everything. And I definitely give that to me being so transparent, because I'm very transparent on my social media, because I don't want to create a false expectation for people. Like, I hate that, and I don't want that. Like, I don't want people to look at me and be like, you know, I want to look like that. I want people to be motivated by me in a positive way, in terms of like wanting to find their why in fitness and find their type of fitness and all that type of stuff. But I don't want people to see what I do and be like, I want to be exactly like that or anything like that. Like, I want you to find you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, looking at the time, I'd say we've been at this for a while. So, Bridget, I'd absolutely love to say thank you for coming. It's been a fucking good yarn, and I've definitely learned a lot. If you just tuned in after we started, this is going straight up on YouTube, and it'll also be on our Spotify. Go follow Bridget on her Instagram. I will link it when I put this on the website, wherever you're watching it. And yeah, best of luck for whatever's going to be happening in the future. It sounds fucking exciting.
Exciting as shit.
Yeah. All right, mate. Well, yeah, thank you again. Next merch drop will be soon. We'll be putting that out there. I can't remember what else I'm supposed to be telling you because it's been a long day. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Thanks for everyone that jumped into the comments. Sorry, the ones that we missed. And, yeah, hopefully we'll be doing a lot more of this very fucking soon. We've got more people coming up on the podcast real soon. So, yeah, thanks very much. We'll see you again soon.